The job with Abbott that
Mhm.
I got, that was like, it's in the middle of the pandemic, and I got it, and it was just being the right place at the right time, the right credentials.
Welcome to Thought Talk, Positivity in Motion. Hosted by best-selling author, speaker, and coach C. Ray Collins.
Communication is still a very important key, and making it positive is something that we don't do enough of.
C. Ray visits with members of our communities and leaders of local businesses on how they share a positive message during difficult and good times. And now, here's C. Ray.
Welcome to Thought Talk, Positivity in Motion. Today I have a guest. His name is Roy Michael Merino. He's a project manager, a production engineer. He's a student of Six Sigma program system. And Roy, I appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, a little background here. I met Roy actually online on LinkedIn. I had seen Roy and made several positive comments and even to some of the stuff I wrote as well, just posting. And then I looked at his profile and I noticed that several people made comments about working with him, doing community service and giving back to the community. So I kind of visit with Roy and then find out that during this time, Roy also had been unemployed. But I think he's a good example of staying positive and moving forward. And so that's one of the reasons Roy's here today. So, Roy, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my dad worked for the VA hospital, so I, as a young person, I definitely traveled a lot, visited a lot, and we ended up liking Texas, liking San Antonio, settled in San Antonio. I'd previous to San Antonio, I lived in Reno, Nevada, and that was a nice place, and that's kind of where I started my high school and also got my first job working in the MGM Grand, doing busboy work, and that was awesome. I mean, it was just one summer, but the pay was excellent. I got the chance to meet people, talk to people, and that was a good
Different
learning.
kind of people.
Different kind of people. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, because we lived in different places. I met, I lived in Colorado, Alabama, Connecticut, so I definitely met people there. But I do think people are very interesting. So,
Sure.
so I saw a lot there, and also I made pretty good money. So that carried me into moving to Texas. Finished off my last 2 years of high school at John Marshall High School. Went to Trinity University, which is a private university similar to SMU, and that was great. I mean, that was pretty expensive school, but I did well enough to get scholarships, financial aid, and
Right.
all that. And I eventually got an MBA at UTSA also, but my first job was working at Motorola in Seguin, Texas, doing automotive production. We were doing second source for Ford, and pretty complex product. Good challenge. My first real assignment was actually putting in some new test systems, which were pretty complex, and these were $250,000 rack and stack equipment that. For a new person out was a good challenge.
So Motorola more or less contracted with Ford to build this type of equipment and install it and that type of thing.
Motorola was actually their second source. So Ford, did their variety, but if something happened,
Right.
then we were there to back them
Right.
up. And sometimes maybe we did maybe they would assign us certain. So there's a bunch of different engine control modules depending on the models and all that, and so we kind of kept each other in check there, but yeah, so working there, we're doing the Six Sigma. I mean, doing the test equipment implementation. That was a big thing, and then after that, we went and did a Six Sigma implementation, which at that time was totally new. It was nobody even knew, but one of the things was I guess Japan was kind of kicking our butt at that time, doing it with the quality and all that. So Motorola came up with a Six Sigma implementation, and we did it. When we started, we were having hundreds of failures a day. A lot of them were not real failures or no trouble found.
Right.
trouble not identified, but that kind of mugs up this, you know, you don't want a lot of material on the floor, so you want more efficient systems, and that was my job, is to improve the yield. So we got down from hundreds of failures a day to maybe a handful, 5 to 10 failures a day,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
great. Yeah.
and then so that also improved the quality,
Right.
Ford was happy with that, so that we were a better supplier, and actually got the Malcolm Baldrige Award for quality in manufacturing, which was something given nationally. And
Right.
we might have been the first ones to get it.
So Six Sigma, I know they concentrate on three things, especially, which is teamwork and positivity and then efficiency. And I've actually been familiar with it when I did a short stint doing a fab for Motorola. So that it is a good system, and especially if you got the right team working with you to make it work good.
Yeah, part of what made it work was it kind of creates a focus. You know, as long as the upper management is behind it.
Right.
Because some people, you know, they get a little frustrated with things like that. It's like,
Sure.
what does it mean? What is it, you know? But yeah, if upper management is behind it, and my job was to work the issues, and when I'm working the issues, they're supporting it because they know upper management is
Right.
following. But yeah, it was a great success. I mean, we ended up with 99.5% yields, which almost no failures.
Right.
And that Ford line was running so efficiently, no material on the floor. So it was a great thing for everybody. And then it probably helped that facility to be able to bring in more business because say, hey, we did this. So
Yeah. So you also during this process or this program, you also worked a little bit in Japan too, right?
yes, I actually that was when I worked for TI.
TI,
And
okay.
you know, so obviously the whole Six Sigma thing was part of my DNA now.
Right.
And I took it to TI, and my first assignment there was actually supporting Motorola cell phones, some IC chips
Right.
for their platforms, and that was a challenge. A lot of scope creep in that. That means we had a spec, but we needed to help them define more things. And yeah, I went to Japan to help once we were getting into production, ramping up. I helped to come up with some test sockets to be able to test the
Equipment,
the parts that we were building.
Right. Yeah. So you worked for TI how long?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, it was
Well, that's
great.
pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good sting there. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. So well, let's move forward here, and so with the pandemic, and like I say, you were unemployed, and of course life moves on, but you've managed to stay positive. You've done self-improvement. You've continued to give back to the community. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was unemployed. I mean, with the unemployment situation is tough. I mean, it's a tough thing. But I guess what I've been trying to do is learn while I've been unemployed. Dallas is a very dynamic city when it comes to unemployment. There's a lot of job groups and a lot of people donating their time to
Sure.
help people. So I took advantage of a lot of that. So I met some really interesting people. And part of that journey was also to say, hey, I want to talk to as many people as I can, learn about what they do. Maybe that'll trigger something. And yeah, I met a lot of great people, interesting people, just like yourself.
Right.
And LinkedIn was part of that. I mean, I do Facebook with family and friends, and that's kind of how I post certain things also. And Instagram was another one that I use. But yeah, the whole social media thing, I mean, the whole internet thing is amazing. You know, when I was in my first jobs, we didn't have any access to those type of things, but you can really learn a lot and see what people are doing and learn more about companies and I've learned I'm a shy person naturally, so it's helped me to, you know, with the networking and getting out there, it's really helped me a lot too.
So keeping the positive energy flowing, of course, this is what this show's about positive things. But how'd you keep it going with your family and until I know you've recently found a new position, but how'd you keep that going constantly?
Yeah.
I mean, is family, friends, and
Yeah, I mean, I leaned on friends. I mean, I leaned on well, I think church was a big part of that. I mean, I I'm Catholic, and and in that lull of looking for jobs, I decided to get closer to the church, and then I met some neat people and joined Knights of Columbus. A good friend of mine. He was a kind of the lead knight. His name's Dan Stoffel. Really friendly guy. Really giving guy, and he was real fun. So I kind of stuck to him a little bit. He whenever he wanted to go donate time or do something good for people, he'd call me, and I would join him. And so we did some things like help with Hurricane Harvey. We did Habitat for Habitat for Communities, and in kind of the older folks' homes, we helped out a little bit there. We did one of the big activities that the Knights do at Prince of Peace, where I go, is the Sunday. They have like a Sunday breakfast, and it's a really big deal.
Right.
It's very community oriented, and actually, they don't really even charge. I mean, if you want to donate,
right.
so that's a great thing. I mean,
Yeah.
and really, that's amazing breakfast too. So
Yeah.
I'm the I help with the pancakes and waffles.
You're the pancake cook.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm the waffle specialist.
All right, a waffle special.
So we got the pancake and the waffles kind of together,
Uh-huh.
and most people want waffles, but they want crispy waffles.
Right.
And you don't get crispy waffles unless you take your time.
Damn.
And then, so hopefully the pancake guy is doing a good job, so it takes the pressure off
Yeah.
of me. But yeah, I get the waffles out.
So you use that Six Sigma of making perfection
Yeah.
there on them waffles?
I got a good instincts with stuff like that.
Yeah. So I know the Knights of Columbus, they do a lot of charity work, and you've stayed involved with them, stayed involved with charity work through this time. And helping people is a positive act, but also makes you feel better,
Yeah.
even when things are bad. So a lot of people don't think about that. Being charitable, even when things are not so good, can make you feel better. And of course, church is a great place to stay involved and being social with other people and being
Yeah.
involved.
I met some really neat people with Habitat for Humanity activities. I mean, people that some are retired but have been working, and they gave me some ideas, references, and all that. So yeah, people are always willing to help if you just have the right attitude, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you was going to give somebody advice about going through this during the pandemic, what would be your advice to them?
Well, you mean about the job situation
Well,
or
the
anything?
work, or
The work,
just
yeah.
it starts with no job.
Yeah.
No insurance, no job.
Well, I think finding a job is one of the toughest things you can do. I mean, and part of it is just keeping the positive. And I think what I've done is try do different things. Just
Right.
if something's not working, try this, because everybody's got an opinion on a resume or a LinkedIn or whatever. And I don't know. It's not there's not an answer, I don't think. But like the job with Abbott that
Mhm.
I got, that was like, it's in the middle of the pandemic, and I got it, and it was just being the right place at the right time, the right
Right.
credentials,
Those
and the
are
right
key-
person recognizing.
Don't give up. Keep
Yes,
searching and
yes.
keep being out there. And of course, like you say, some of the social media helps keep your name out there.
Yeah.
But you also worked with some of the groups that helped people try to find jobs, right?
Yes. So within the, I've been, even though I was looking for jobs, I was trying to, if somebody had questions, I was trying to learn the system as much as I could, even though it's a tough situation. So wherever I could help people, but definitely, there's a guy named Jeff Morris. He has his website called Career DFW, which is an awesome website. It does, it kind of has all the job search information within that one website. I think it's pretty nationally probably one of the best. I know he's gone to Washington D.C., but yeah, he's one of the giving guys, and I appreciate that. So I volunteered for some of the things he was doing as far as job fairs and stuff like that.
Right.
And within some of the groups needed kind of to make money, so we did some car wash type activities. And some of those I learned from being with the Knights of Columbus, because they did those things. So I
Right.
say, hey, we did it at Knights. You guys
Yeah,
can do it too.
Sure,
So
and they help raise money and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that sort of thing, yeah. So if, yeah, so like I say, you mentioned now you're employed, and so that's a positive, that's a good thing that now you're employed and you're kind of getting back on track, but you're still continuing to try to improve yourself. We talked a little bit about, now I can't, my mind just went blank, but
yeah. Well, I've always been that type of person. Sports was kind of where I started. As a young person, I liked sports. I enjoyed winning, and so I was always real methodical and analytical to figure that out, how to improve that
Right.
in that respect. And I think that was actually my first. I didn't know it was Six Sigma, but I think it's the same idea.
right, comes in that same area. So so do you think, like I say, I'm more just asking about your experiences, but do you think the Dallas Fort Worth market area is as tough as, say, the Philadelphia area as far as work and
Oh, I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I think one of the things that's happened is there's so many opportunities here that a lot of people moving in.
right,
So that creates a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, I don't know. I try to network and talk to recruiters, and I think there are opportunities to be better, because I know there's a lot of jobs, and I know there's a lot of good people looking.
right,
So if we could somehow make that connection easier, because I think in the way, maybe some companies are a little hesitant with some of their hiring, and maybe they're interviewing too much or whatever. Maybe there's
Right.
too much risk or whatever. But in the end, I think, and actually, maybe ageism is an issue. So, some people have gaps for real good reasons, but that hurts them
sure,
looking for jobs. So I think there's a way to make it better for everybody, and I'm not sure what that answer is, but
yeah,
we should all work towards it. I
work
think.
that, yeah. So if somebody want to socialize with you, what's your LinkedIn or Facebook?
Yeah, I'm definitely on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. Professionally, Roy M. Merino, and at LinkedIn, and yeah, just feel free to connect with me. I do have a pretty good network. It's a lot of people that I've actually personally met, and in the area, and yeah, and I'm be willing to help
Anyway, yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
So, I think Roy's a perfect example of what you need to do during the pandemic if you're unemployed. First of all, he never gave up. He continued to look for work. He stayed positive. He continued to be involved with his church and with organizations to help his community, which in return gave him more self-confidence in that job search. And so, Roy, I really appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate it.
And we may do this again sometime, and I hope the new position turns out to be a long-term project for you.
I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's something that's in my wheelhouse, but also I'm learning. So, yeah, it's in the medical field. So I appreciate it.
Anything you'd like to add before we go off the air here?
No, I think there's a lot of people that have helped me along the way, and Jeff Morris, like I mentioned earlier, Dan Stoffel at Knights of Columbus, and a good friend of mine, David Peckham. And yeah, there's always somebody that's looking that will help. And I think the part of the thing is to get out, just try different things, be working at it, and it'll all work out.
Yeah, and you're never in it alone. You just
Right.
your friends or your family's there to help you through it. So, Roy, I appreciate you being here today. I hope that, like I say, sometime we'll do this again, and wish you the best.
It sounds great, Clive.
Yeah.
It was a good pleasure doing this.
All right, thank you.